Probably one of the most frequently asked questions that I get from friends, family members, people that come over, people that watch my videos online is how much does it cost? How much does it cost you to put this fish room together? How much does it cost to maintain all of these aquariums all the time? Today, I'm going to try to answer that question. Hey fish friends, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Zenzo from Tazawa Tanks. Now hopefully you are familiar with my channel, you are familiar with this fish room and all of my aquariums. If you are not, if you're new to this channel, welcome, and I would recommend clicking this link up here so that you can watch a video that kind of shows you all of my aquariums. It's a full tour, so then you'll really understand what we're talking about today. And then additionally, I have another video that I made recently that talks about the behind the scenes on how we operate the fish room and how everything works, and I'll put a link to that up there as well. So check out those videos if you're new to this channel. Otherwise, let's get into how much it costs to put this together and run this fish room. Now there's a lot of stuff to cover and I didn't memorize everything, so I did write it down, and I'm gonna try to get through this pretty quickly, otherwise we're gonna have a 20-minute video, which you probably don't want to watch. So the first thing we're gonna cover is tanks. I've got 30 systems total, upstairs, downstairs. We've got 23 tanks in this room. I'm gonna generalize and say that the tanks are probably about $100 a piece. Now, I didn't pay that much. I got some of these for free. Some of these were given to me by clients. Some of these were given to me by friends. I purchased some on sale. I purchased some at full price. So it really does vary. A 10-gallon tank that you buy at $1 per gallon sale is gonna cost you $10. Same with a $20-gallon tank will cost you 20 bucks. You might get a 40 breeder on sale for like $50, but you might pay $200 for a 75-gallon aquarium brand new or something like that. So we're gonna average it out to be $100 per tank, $3,000. Now we're gonna talk about the equipment in a tank. It might be heaters, it might be power heads, it might be filtration, sponge filters, hang on the back filters, etc. Now for me, I run air, so majority of my tanks don't have a huge expense, especially down here. Most of them just have sponge filters. We do have a couple of canister filters in here, and that's about it. Nothing else. Don't have any power heads running down here, and I don't have to have heaters in these aquariums because I heat the room. So it's going to be a little bit less for me. For you, it might be more. Upstairs, we have heaters in those tanks. We do have, canister filters and sumps and other things up there, but less up there than there is down here. So we're going to say it's around $30 to $35 per tank. One tank might have a $6 sponge filter, another one might have two $10 sponge filters, but then another tank might have a $350 canister filter attached to it. So we'll average it out to be about 30 to 35 bucks. So let's just round up and say $1,000 for equipment for all these aquariums. Next is lighting, and lighting is something that's very important if you want to see your fish, if you want to grow plants, etc. You want to have a light on your aquarium. Depending on what you're doing, it's going to depend on how much you pay for light. If you have something very basic, you don't need some high-end light to grow plants. In my opinion, I think a mediumly priced light would do just fine for growing plants, which is what I have. I counted all of my lights, averaged out the price. Some are very expensive lights, some are very inexpensive lights. Came out to be about $70 per light, 28 lights, $1,960. Now additionally, there are other things that I have to have in here to run this fish room. We have a central air system, so there's a linear piston air pump that is plumbed with PVC around the ceiling, dropping down into the aquariums. I have a dehumidifier in here, I have a sink in here, other stuff just to kind of keep everything running. And so obviously I do need the air. We've got hoses in here and stuff like that. So we're at about another $1,200 to have that central air system, which is about $400 with all the PVC and the valves and the airline tubing and the pump itself, etc. Plus all that other stuff, the mini fridge in here. So these are all things that you probably would need when you have this many aquariums, and that's about what it costs. All right, so now that you spent several $1,000s buying your tanks and lighting them and getting them all set up, you need to put stuff in them. You need to put plants in there. You might need to put some decoration, some rocks, some wood, substrate, fish. Well, I'm not even touching fish because there's no way for me to put a value on the fish that I have and what you keep could be very different than what I keep. I might have some fish that are rare and expensive, like my top hat blennies, which are like $50 a piece, or you could have an Oscar, which you might get as a baby for like $8. So it could vary, but decor and plants, again, you're going to need stuff in your aquariums, and you might have backgrounds, you might have rocks, plants, etc. So I estimate that to be about $40 per aquarium or per system. With 30 of them, that's $1,200. All right, so that's a lot of money. We've spent over $8,200 just putting everything together. No fish yet. That will be something that you would have to do on your own to kind of figure out what that would cost. You would know better than me. But again, if I were to put something together, I would probably start with maybe like $300 or $400 worth of fish, just to kind of get some stuff going. But again, it does add up. Now let's talk about what it costs to run this fish room and my other tanks upstairs on a monthly basis, because that is really where the expense comes in. Let's first talk about energy. Depending on where you live in the world is going to really factor in how much you're paying for energy. There are some parts of the world that are maybe inexpensive to have energy. Other places it will be more costly. Temperature plays a lot into that. Do you live in a warm climate? Do you have to use air conditioners to keep everything cool? Are you in a cold climate where you have to use a lot of heat to keep everything warm? What is the cost of energy where you live? Do you have solar? Do you not have solar, etc.? For me, it's probably right around $300 extra per month to run this fish room. $300 to $350, kind of depending on the time of the year and how much we're having to run the dehumidifier and everything like that to keep the heat in here. So if you're looking at, again, having this many fish and having a fish room, it's going to cost you a lot on a monthly basis. And for me, it's about $300 to $350 per month just to have the energy, paying for the energy to run all this system. Now, on top of that, there are other expenses that you have. Now, you have a water bill. For me, I am very fortunate that actually I do not have a water bill. The reason why is the HOA pays the water bill. So the HOA, I guess I'm paying for it in some way, but I don't have a different water bill than my neighbor. If they use 500 gallons and I use 2,000 gallons, we pay the same amount. So, but where you live might be very different. You might have to pay a lot for water. Maybe you have a well and you don't have to pay for water. But you do have to factor in the cost of water if you are keeping a lot of aquariums and doing a lot of water changes. The other thing that's going to be costly is feeding all your fish and doing your water changes, having the chemicals on hand. Now, I am very fortunate where I do not pay for most of my fish food because I am sponsored by Extreme Aquatic Foods. They supply me with all of my pellet and flake food and granular food for my aquariums. Aquarium Co-op is very generous in giving me the brine shrimp to hatch live baby brine shrimp, so I don't have to pay for a lot of food. I do buy some freeze-dried foods for my mud skippers and for my Oscars. I buy them big krill and stuff like that, cricket sometimes. I have to buy mealworms on occasion. I do buy some frozen bloodworms and stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm not paying for food. But if I were paying for all those items that I get for free, I would be spending a lot of money. Now, the type of food that you buy and the quantity that you buy it in is going to be, determine how much you pay. But I would say I probably go through right around $100 of food per month. So that doesn't sound like much, but when you add that on top of your energy bill, your water bill, what you paid for everything, it really does start to add up. So these are all things that you have to consider. Additionally, I do not pay for my chemicals, and I'm very fortunate that Fritz Aquatics sponsors me and supplies me with all of my additives, my buffers, my salts, my medications for fish, my dechlorinators, all of those things that I would need to buy for myself. I don't have to because Fritz supplies me with those. But if you had to buy those, you'd probably spending easily another $50 to $100 per month, depending on what you keep. So if you have brackish tanks, saltwater tanks, you're buying salt. If you do a lot of cichlids that are large and having to do a lot of water changes, you're using more dechlorinator, you're using buffers and salts and things like that. So, or if you have a bunch of planet tanks with guppies in them, probably less. But for me, probably another $100 or so worth of chemicals on a monthly basis to keep everything running. Now that I looked at all the numbers, it's a little bit depressing. Maybe depressing is not the right adjective, but it's I don't know, it's crazy to think that this costs that much, that there's probably, you know, easily $9,000 plus when you look at, you know, setting everything up and getting your livestock, etc. In addition to maybe another $6,000+ a year to keep everything running by paying the bills. 1 year alone, you're looking at like 15 grand. That's a lot of money. Now, again, very fortunate that Aquarium Co-op and Dean's Fish Room did the remodel for me, so I didn't pay for a lot of this stuff. I did get a lot of stuff for free. I don't pay for food and chemicals, so I am very fortunate, but I still do have some expenses that I have to pay every month, like my energy bill as an example. So with that, if you have not done so already, please like this video. Please subscribe to this channel. So many of you watch these videos, and I appreciate you watching my videos, but a lot of you are subscribed. In fact, when I look at the analytics, 25% of the people that watch my videos are subscribed, and 75+% of you are not subscribed. So take the time to hit that sub button if you don't mind. Hit that notification bell. It really does help. Hopefully I was able to answer a lot of your questions, because I do get questions from a lot of you out there as far as the cost of running this fish room and what it costs to put together. So hopefully if you had one of those questions, I was able to answer it for you. If you have any additional questions, please comment down below. If you think I'm way off on some of my calculations, comment down below. And also comment down below what you think you spend on a monthly basis to take care of your aquariums. That's all I had for now. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.